Hey guys, it's Jenny with Creature Cove, and today I am here with Max, our Rosy Boa, and we together are going to show you how to set up your new Rosy Boa enclosure. So I'm going to show you guys how to do a step-by-step easy enclosure setup for your Rosy Boa. Rosies are very cute and sweet, and most of them, some of my females, are not very nice, but for the most part they are a pleasure to have. I love watching them. They're the smallest of the boas, and in fact an adult male Rosy can fit into a 10 to 20 gallon tank. I'm actually going to show you guys an easy how-to setup for your Rosy. I know I've done one previously, but I'm kind of like updating it. Things around here change, and with, you know, the more research, the more knowledge you get, the longer you do it, you kind of change a little, you know, little things here and there. And so I'm going to kind of do an updated version. My other one was for a baby. This one's going to be kind of for either of them. The only difference is your adult is going to need a larger enclosure. If you choose to start your baby out, they can be started out in a 5 to 10 gallon tank. We've got our 20 gallon tank here. Important, like any snake or reptile really, you need a locking lid. So this one right here has one of the slip-in lid features, and it seems to work great. It's got holes in the back for like your cords to come up through and whatnot, and then it locks securely. So very important, or they will escape. Stop it. Also, you want to black out the 3 sides, so the 2 smaller sides and then the back you want to black out. I know this doesn't look the greatest, but like I said, it's not really for anybody. I just did it quick. I use scrapbook paper. I go to the scrapbook supply shop, and since these guys are more from like Arizona, Mexico, California, arid desert scene, I got the sand look for our scrapbook paper blacked out backgrounds. So you can get really cute with them. You can get the desert themes, or they have like the exoterras and stuff that actually have your background set in. So you could do that too. But either way, it's best to do that so they feel comfy, cozy, and secure, so that you have a better chance of getting them to eat and exploring and getting used to their habitat as fast as possible. So that leads us to our heating. Once we've got our tank blacked out, you are going to figure out your heating situation, which is gonna kind of depend on where you're at. We're in Illinois, so here we have pretty big temp ranges where I will use a heat mat, which is very important.
Oh my gosh, it's stuck.
So you want to use an appropriate sized heat mat for your tank. So this is a 20 gallon long, and this is for a 10 to 20 gallon tank. They come in all different brands. I always use name brands. I have had some bad luck with off brands before. So like Zilla, Pangea even has heat mats now. Zoomed is another one we like. So those are all good. And I'm going to show you how we put these on. They're self-adhesive. So you're going to stick it on the outside bottom of your tank. So I'm going to lift this. This is going to be awkward. Actually, I'll just flip it maybe. Ooh. Okay, so we're going to put this on the outside bottom of the tank, like so. And you can actually go either way. You can go up and down or horizontally with your heat mat. I do up and down so that the cords come out the back and we don't have to see them. Here's a controversial thing, but I do this. So I have had issues with the adhesive after a while not sticking anymore, and the pad will actually be disconnected from the tank in parts and not doing its job. So I use foil tape. It's HVAC tape from, you can get it at Home Depot or any other hardware store. And I actually put this on around the outside of the mat so I know it sticks. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've never had an issue with it, and I trust it much more than just leaving the adhesive from the pad on there. So there we go. So that's our heat mat. We're all set. Now, with your heat mat, or any heating element that you have to have a thermostat. Please get a thermostat. I know some people say that they're not worth it, but I don't even know how they can say that, because it's the only way you can control your temperature. If I plug in this heat mat right now and let it go without a thermostat controlling it, it gets hot enough to burn your snakes. So just don't do it. Get a thermostat, it's so worth it. So we use the ZooMed thermostats. I've never had an issue with them. I love them, easy to set, easy to deal with. And so we are going to take, it comes with, here's our little device, comes with our probe, which is also another thing that people, I don't know, they put them all over the place. I'll show you what we do, what works for us. May not work for everybody, but it works great for us. So I actually use our HVAC tape again, and I put it on the outside of the probe. So I'm not covering the actual probe itself, I'm just covering the back side and then part of the wire. And I tape it down right on top of the heat pad on the inside of the tank. So you have to be a little bit careful because you're putting adhesive on the inside of the tank where the snake can be. So you have to make sure it's pressed down really, really well. And anytime you stir up the bedding or change it, check your tape, make sure it's still stuck down very well. But as long as you do that, I have never ever had a problem and it works well. So we've got that, and then we're just going to plug our heat mat into our thermostat, and then you can plug it into the wall and set it. So for Rosies, they like a hot spot of about 90, anywhere from like 88 to 90 degrees. So I set it for 90, and the thermostat will allow it to go like 2 degrees above and 2 degrees below. So it'll stay within a range, and that works perfect if you set it for 90 degrees. Set it and forget it. Actually, don't forget it, that's a lie. Which takes us to our next thing. Always have a temperature gun. So I don't trust, even though I have the thermostat and it will beep to alert me if it's too high or too low, the temperature, I don't trust electronics that much. So we've had some issues with them not working or faulty ones, and bad things can happen. So get yourself a temperature gun. It will tell you what the temp is. So you direct it at the mat and make sure once in a while that it's still doing good. Also, okay, so you want their hot spot at 90 degrees, but you want a temperature gradient throughout the rest of the tank. So if you're like here in Illinois where temps can go crazy, you may need an additional heat element to keep even the cool end a little more heated, because their cool end should be around 72 to 75 degrees. So if it drops, or even at night, if like your house goes down in the winter, your house can go down to like 62, I've known some people, you want to get a supplemental heating thing, which I recommend the ceramic heat emitters. So we'll do that with your dome. And then this should also be attached to a thermostat. However, I mean, now we have tons of thermostats, but when I was first starting out and didn't really have the money for them, I heard about the dimmers. Flukers has the deluxe clamp lamp with a dimmer switch on it, so you can actually control the heat with the dimmer. But that's when you have to be ridiculously careful and constantly use your temp gun to adjust your temperature, make sure it doesn't get too hot. And I literally check it. If I use a dimmer, if I have to in the winter, I'm checking it like 2-3 times a day just to make sure. Luckily, we keep our house pretty warm because of the reptiles, so we don't have to use the supplemental heat too much. Also, they don't need any special lighting. So you're totally cool with, if you want to use a light, use like a fluorescent light, something that's not gonna give off extra heat and heat your tank up. That's about it for heating. Let's move on to humidity quick, because that's another issue with Rosies. Again, if you live in a place that gets humid, like here in Illinois all summer and spring, they don't like the humidity. So they should stay between absolutely not over 50 for long periods of time. Obviously, even in Arizona, it's gonna rain, which brings up the humidity, and they can deal with that for short snippets of time, but nothing that's gonna last like weeks with the humidity spiked. So 50% humidity or lower is great. We try to keep it between 30 and 40%, so that they don't end up with respiratory infections. So what we use is, we just went on Amazon and got a digital temp and humidity gauge. I just use the temperature, the thermometer on here to tell me what the reptile room temp is at, but otherwise, like 30% is what our humidity is at in here right now. Let's talk about substrate. So if you have a brand new either baby or adult Rosie that you're bringing home, you're gonna wanna quarantine them for about 90 days. So that is including, even if you don't have any other reptiles, you will still wanna quarantine the snake away from where you're planning on keeping them long term. So say I bring home my new Rosie and I wanna keep it in this room, in our reptile room, I am gonna quarantine it we quarantine ours at the other end of the house, just because that's where we have space to quarantine, but you do want to keep them outside of the room that you're planning on keeping them in case they have mites or end up sick. You're not dealing with it repeatedly in the place you want to house them forever. You can actually move them away once they're healthy and start them brand new. So because we're bringing our new one home and quarantining, we're gonna just use paper towels. You can use newspapers as your substrate for that first 90 days. This is gonna ensure that you can see their poops, make sure they're eating okay, all the good stuff. It's also good, I like the white paper towels because it's good for seeing mites as well. All right, we got our paper towels. After your quarantine period, I recommend either aspen chips or just like the aspen shredded aspen bedding. We use the Zoo Med version, but there's tons. Zilla has a cool, they're like little chips instead of shredded. Those are really nice to have. But the aspen really allows them to burrow. They love burrowing. They'll have like little tunnels all over, which is really cute to watch. They poke their little heads out. It's adorable. But they love burrowing it, and that will hold their burrows for them. And it keeps the humidity down because that doesn't really hold the moisture in. So definitely an aspen bedding, or, I mean, you can always keep them on paper towels, which again, like in Illinois, a lot of times they're on paper towels for quite a bit of the summer because we just can't keep the humidity down without changing out their bedding into paper towels. It just works better. So, but anytime they can be in aspen, they're in the aspen because they seem to have a lot of fun in it. As far as hides will be next, you can go as simple as something you find in the dollar store. They make these black, like PVC ones that are pretty darn cheap. These I found at an expo somewhere, but a lot of reptile stores carry them. And you want to get one an appropriate size. So they like to feel, you know, in the wild, they usually hang out in like rocks and little spaces, little crevices. So you want one that's going to fit them. This would not be used for a baby. Let me actually... If you're bringing home a baby, one like this size is much more appropriate. Make sure they can fit in it though, like let them fit in it, but not too big either. So we're housing for an adult per se right now. So there we go, we got our hides in. You wanna hide in the cool end so they can go over there and chill if they get too warm, and one over your heat mat. And then as far as decor goes, the sky is the limit. A lot of people say these guys, because they're burrowers and desert dwelling, that they don't like to climb. That is not true. I put hammocks in there. I've put, I'll show you, but like vines and all sorts of stuff. And every single one of my Rosies has used them to the fullest. They will go all over their tank. They are so much fun to watch. They're not good at it. They're not great at climbing. They're a little clumsy and derpy, but that makes them even more charming to me. So let's go with setting up their enclosure. So these are like the vines I was kind of talking about. And obviously secure things, like normally I use a lot of suction cup things. Here, I'm gonna put this in here because they love hammocks. Again, because I'm setting this up right now for a quarantine, we are gonna keep it kind of simplistic, but also fun at the same time because you want them to feel welcome. So I've got a plastic netted hammock instead of our nice, like grass woven hammocks is what I'll change them to when they're in their regular enclosures out of quarantine. But so I got that, easy to clean. You can go to your local pet store, which will have all sorts of plants and stuff. I go to Hobby Lobby. It's a great asset to me, and they have really fun stuff there. So we got these huge plants. Boo, boo, boo. Let's talk, oh, sticks. I love sticks. They love sticks. Let's talk water bowls, because that's another big controversy in the Rosy world. I've done it both ways. So in the summer when our humidity strikes, I will actually take their water out and only offer it for 24 hours once a week. So every 7 days, I'll give them water all day, all night, and then take it out in the morning, because otherwise their humidity spikes again in their enclosure, and that's not good. So they are from the desert. They don't find water supplies all the time. I know in my first Rosy setup, I had said that we offer it, you know, year round and whatnot. And that's what I would prefer to do, and that's what we used to do. But for some reason, I don't know if something in our house changed or what it was, but it ended up just being we couldn't keep the humidity down. So then I had to switch and go to like once a week, which worked really well. Nobody seemed to have any issues from it. So that's what I do now. In the winter, they have water the whole time, but in the summer, it's once a week, and they're fine. They are fine. I've tested it because I was nervous about it at first. But if you're nervous about it, don't worry, I tested it for you. So yeah, so I mean, you can go as dazzling as you want with their enclosure. It's sky's the limit for that. Just make sure it has a secure lid on it and that all your stuff inside is secure so they can't fall off and hurt themselves. I'm thinking like this sucker is ready to go for a newbie. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, leave your questions below. I answer all of my questions. Oh, wait, that's not it. Also, if you're interested in any Rosies, we still have a couple left from last season, and they are up on our website, www.thecreaturecove.com, and you can check them out there. We'll see you later. Bye.